Hi, can I tell you something? Growing up, I was very self conscious about my body and my height. If you don't know, I'm adopted, which means that everyone around me, including my family, doesn't really look like me. I'm a bit different in height wise. Growing up, most of my friends were bigger than me, taller, or more athletic than me. And I was pretty much a shrimp growing up. Still am, but now a bit bigger. I used to be really self-conscious about my body and just how people saw me. I always felt that I had to, prove that I could keep up with everybody else and prove that I was, big and tough. When in reality, I look like a chihuahua barking. That's about it. But it really bothered me. And when people would mention my height or, hey, you're short or, man, you're puny, that would really get under my skin. And I would really be bothered by it. And I went through a stage of, just arrogance and being just dumb because I was trying to figure out how to compensate for me being small. Um, Unfortunately, today's standards for men and being cool and good looking is you got to be tall, and that's something I'm not. And when I would see that, I would get really self conscious, like, man, all these guys are getting these beautiful women, but they're like 6'1" or something, and here I am stuck at a whopping 5'3", baby. Let's go. But right now, it doesn't bother me as much. Now, I'm stuck as this. This is how God made me. But growing up, I didn't see it that way, and I didn't say it out loud to most people, but I asked God, why am I this short? Like, why couldn't you have made me taller? Why can't I be different? Why'd you make me this? And I wasn't very grateful for how I was. And when I went to the doctor, they always told me, oh yeah, you'll be like, 5'8", 5. You'll grow up. You'll get taller. Reality check. No, I didn't. That was a lie. No, I didn't. That never happened. Just whoop, throw that out the window. But I always thought that I would be, come taller like everybody else, but I wasn't. And growing up and figuring out how to deal with this was kind of difficult for me because in my testimony, I'll explain that, I had some trouble with some certain sins, and I'm not proud of that. But one of the ones I'm not proud of is how I handled just being stuck in this size and being ungrateful to God. Nowadays, I'm, as an adult, it doesn't phase me really anymore one bit. I'm actually grateful for this size because in my line of work, going underneath houses and, dodging plumbing and ventilation systems, it's good. I'm happy I'm this size because if I was any bigger, I'd probably get stuck underneath the house and probably die or something. Maybe not that extent, but you get the idea. But dealing with just being small and also being really skinny, not a really good combo. I'm not very strong. I'm not some, gym jock, heavy lifting, bodybuilder. Growing up, I was just kind of a stick. Very nimble, short stick. And I wasn't very grateful for what God gave me. And, sometimes I hear my friends talk about how they look, and sometimes they're bigger than me. Sometimes, people aren't happy with the body they've been given, or, they're too tall, too short, too fat, too skinny, all this stuff. And it is hard for some people. I get it. Being different than a lot of other people made me really, really out of place. And I wanted to figure out what that missing piece was that was in my heart, this feeling that just nagged me when I was growing up, and I didn't understand it. And realizing that I'm older now and realizing that, looking back, I wasn't thanking God for how he made me. In Genesis, God said, let us make man in our image. We're made in God's image. In the Bible, it says that he knew us before we were born. and loved us. He knows every hair on our head. He knows everything that we'll ever do. And he loved us for that. All the sin that I've done in my life, I'm not proud of. All the sin that you've done in your life, he knew. But yet, he loves us. I never thought of it like that when I was growing up. I never thought about how much God loved me and how much I am his son, that he put me here. I wasn't happy growing up with my body. I was, I did some dumb things, and I was just trying to cope with this feeling. And being rude to people didn't always work. Being arrogant didn't always work. But then how did I deal with it? How did I overcome this, this feeling of being stuck and trying to better myself? I got to do better. I got to get more swole, and I got to, be like everybody else. Well, one was the circumstances in my life. I looked around. I saw that, I'm actually useful this size. Some people, can't fit in some spaces. Some people, can't do what I can do as easy. I am able to, crawl under places, get things under a foundation of a house, for instance, or go and get something that someone maybe bigger than me can't. That's nice. Are there some downsides to being short? Sure. I can't reach the top shelf in the store or something, or I can't reach the cabinet cup at the very top of my house. Okay, big deal. Whoa. But being thankful for what you've been given, even if you don't like it, really changes your perspective in your life. If you're not happy with the way you're built, if you're skinny like me and you're like, man, I wish my body was stronger. Be thankful and look at the things in your life that you do have. And just take a minute and like, man, you know what? I'm not as strong as, my one of my friends, but I'm happy where I am. Can you better yourself? Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Go to the gym. Go get a membership. Go to train or get a home gym or do some push-ups. I try to do it. Again, sometimes I'm lazy, so I don't want to do that sometimes. I'm just but do it. Go ahead. Try it. You can better yourself. There's a lot of testimonies and people all over the internet that have come from just like, thin sticks like me, or who are more bigger than I am and became the goal they set. You got to set a goal for yourself. Number 2 for me was praying. If you don't believe in God, or you don't know anything about him, well, he loves you and he knows about you. And you may ask, well, Andrew, I don't think God's all that, like, who is this God that you're talking about? Because, like, I see a bunch of these religions, I see a bunch of these, weird things, and I'm like, man, Christianity is no. Unfortunately, people make Christ look bad. Men, they mess up, or they twist things, as it says in the Bible, and they distort Christ's image. But I encourage you, either download a Bible app, read the Bible, get a paper cover, I don't care. Do the ESV, the King James, or I don't know, whatever suits. Find a Bible, read about Jesus and who he is, and I bet you your life will change. Because God is amazing. And he's done a lot for me in my life. He's brought me out of a lot of things. And he's still helping me deal with some stuff. Yeah. Because, again, I'm a bit of a mess some days. And I mess up a lot. But through all that, God died for me. Jesus sacrificed his life for me. And I'm able to sit here and be able to speak today. I was able to wake up because of him. So, but going back to me and my growing up, pray to God. Make sure you include him in your thankfulness. Just start thanking him, because when you're thankful, that comparison, that that anger that you might have about yourself, that you might beat yourself up about, it goes away. If you're thankful for what you have, that discontentment goes away. And you become more grateful for who you are in him. The third thing, number 3. You've looked at your circumstances around your life. You see, okay, you know what? This isn't so bad. You thank God. You keep thanking God. And then you read about how he uses people. There's many songs that talk about God's goodness and his mercy and his grace. And there's several songs that talk about, he uses the weak to lead the strong. He uses, the inadequate in the world's eyes, and he uses them to rise up nations, and he uses them to, further his kingdom. He uses the weak. And maybe you consider yourself weak. Well, remember, there's a God that gives you strength to, flush all those lies out, because that's all it is just lies. Because I believed those lies for a long time. And they didn't help me. When I stopped thinking about those lies and I stopped accepting them, like, okay, this isn't who I am. I'm God's chosen son. I'm his loved. He loved me so much that he literally sacrificed his life to save me. And thinking about it like that, it'll change your perspective. I'll tell you a story. There was one time when I used to play soccer when I was little, and I was really small. I was a really small kid. So me playing soccer for this little, I don't know, it was like first grader. So I don't know how old I was even. I was like 6 years old maybe. I don't know. So I was really small. I'm not about to show you a picture of small me either, but I was really small, and I was always taught to share growing up. So when anyone asked for the soccer ball, I gave it to them. That includes the opposite team. So when someone said, "Let me have the ball," boop, I just gave you the ball, man. That was about it. And one of my teammates, after the game was over with, or we were losing, I don't remember how it started, but he was like, "Yo, Andrew, you suck." When I heard that, that was like a stab to the heart, dude. That shattered 6-year-old me. That crushed me when someone told me that, and I was like, "I'm sorry. I was just trying to play the game." And it really hurt me. I still remember that for some reason. Don't ask me why, but that's one memory that's just ingrained into my head. And for the longest time, I would take that kind of, feedback. "Oh, Andrew, you're slow, man. You're not, hurry up, catch up, or, you just suck." And I would take that too literally. And I would focus on those negative things. And I would keep, man, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm nowhere near where I should be. Man, just get me out of here. Those are the kind of things, those lies that you need to get out of your head. You need to get out of your life, because they're just going to drag you down. They drug me down, and I'm not very proud of how I let them drag me down. But you don't have to let those lies control you. Like I said, look at your circumstances. Look at where you are. Look how much you've been given. And just be grateful for what little you might have. Just be grateful. Start being thankful. Start praying to God. Start thanking God. And that ungratefulness, that guilt will be replaced by peace and love. I'm very grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful that I'm still alive and I'm at the age I'm at. I'm glad I'm an adult. Am I small? Am I short? Sure. Deal with it, man. That's just me. That's who I am. I'm me. Would I have it any other way? Nah. Yeah. Not even for a cheeseburger, man. All right, anyway. Be grateful for how God has made you in his image. And if you don't believe in God and you're like, "Man, who is this God? Who is this being that, supposedly created me and, loves me?" What? I encourage you to read the Bible and figure out, because Jesus was a man. He came down to earth just like you and me. And he died loving you so much that he would do it all over again just for you. I wish I could meet him in, face to face. I wish I could walk with him and just ask him questions. I can't yet. There's a time coming in the Bible where Jesus is going to come back a second time. But unfortunately, this time, it's not going to be on a donkey. It's not going to be a humble entrance. He's going to be on the back of a horse with a sword. Because that's the day he's coming back for those who believe in him and follow him. But the rest of those who aren't following and don't know Christ and refuse to believe, it's not going to be a good day. And I hope you don't have to go through that. I pray that you give God a chance and, maybe past relationships hurt the idea of God in your head or hurt that thing. I pray that you try again, but not because, I'm telling you to, but because you're curious, because you need something. You're searching for something. Try Jesus. Just you and him. Just read Matthew, the beginning of Matthew. Learn who Jesus was. Try it. From growing up to a small little guy to being now an adult little guy, I'm grateful for where I am. Don't give up on yourself. Choose to be grateful for where you are. Choose to be happy with who you are. Choose to be thankful to God that you're alive today. And it'll change your mindset. Thanks for hanging out with me. Listen to me talk, because I can talk a lot. I hope you have a good day, and I hope that you are blessed. I don't care what you're going through. God loves you. I'll be praying for you. Okay, bye.